What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Monday Night Football, NBC's DFS and betting edition here. It's Lawrence Jackson, Lord Don't Lose, Kyle Dvorchak at Kyle Tweets here, and Vaughn Dalzell. First things first, though, before we talk about the game, before we talk about anything else, shout out to Lawrence making his Matthew Berry debut today. That's my guy. You did amazing today. How was it? How'd you feel? Were you nervous at all?
I really wasn't nervous, but I was playing that Eminem song "Lose Yourself" in my head. And I went to the bathroom. I had to take a leak real quick, so I just had to get myself together. And
in the song, he doesn't take a leak when he goes to the bathroom. He's doing
but
something
his
else.
arms are sweaty because he thinking about mom's spaghetti though. So I ain't had no spaghetti, so that was the next best thing. But yeah, man, it was a good rush, man. It was fun, and like y'all know, man, once we just get to talking about football, man, it just go and it flow. You know what I'm saying? So it was all good, especially having Pat Carrain there, who I done had plenty reps with up until this point. So yeah, man, it was dope, man.
That's funny. It's exactly what Pat said too, because I talked to him a little bit after he was on. He was like, "Yeah, once you get going, like you're just in pod mode. You don't even think about it."
Right.
No, that was awesome. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Definitely good talk for the game too. I like how you picked the Giants and everyone else picked the Cowboys. So
yeah,
you'll be looking like the smart guy. That's how I viewed it.
Yeah. It's a win-win for me. If the Giants win, then I look like the smart guy. If they lose, well, we ain't too shocked because the Giants probably like the worst 2-0 team. Okay, that kind of sound like I'm dissing them, but it kind of true though at the same time.
Definitely.
So yeah, man.
Yeah, we'll definitely dive into that. Before we do, favorite moment of week 3, Kyle, go first. Anything happen to you?
I didn't have a great week, but Lamar continuing to go scorched earth is awesome. Like that's just like always. Football is better when Lamar's awesome. There's just no two ways around it.
Yeah. Best thing on TV. I would go with you there. I'm gonna agree with that, but I'm also gonna just say the way the Dolphins gutted it out against the Bills, who came into week 3 undeniably looking like the best team in football, and the Dolphins was like, hey, we right here. And the thing that the fact that they did it on only 39 plays ran, the Bills ran 50 of their plays in the second half and only scored 7 points with that offense. So for the Dolphins defense to step up this week, whereas to week 2 their offense stepped up, it was a good thing to see. And now the AFC East is competitive again.
Yeah, no, I thought that was crazy. The Dolphins are going to be gassed on Thursday Night Football. I already laid the 3 with the Bengals.
Every single player in that game left with cramps at some point. Like apparently that was just like a brutal conditions game where like Diggs, McKenzie, Kumro hurt his knee, but like all of them except for Gabe ended up leaving at some point with just like pure cramps as far as I could tell. And I think they were subbing out Waddle and Tyreek every few plays to keep them fresh for the exact same reasons. The conditions that game just looked like garbage.
You mentioned how Gabe didn't have to get subbed out. Now, who also did it? Devin Singletary, James Cook. All 3 Florida dudes right there.
Oh, my God, you're right.
Yeah, especially the 2 running backs. They South Florida dudes. So they playing in Miami. They good with it. That's why you see like dudes who like Gabe Davis played at Central Florida, from Florida. Then Singletary, James Cook, they just rotating in. Then you see the other guys, they're like, oh, man, it's too hot down here, man. So, yeah, man, them boys built like that.
No, yeah, that was definitely a good point. There was a lot of great games that went across. The NBC squad, we went 4-0-1 in our Circa Vegas pool.
Nice.
So we were pretty pumped about that. But, yeah, we had the Ravens. We backed Lamar. We had the Colts. That was my pick. I thought they would win. They did win. No one was riding with me on the Panthers. The Panthers finally broke their ATS and moneyline streak. Great spot to bet the Panthers this past week. But this game tonight is going to be a doozy. People are saying it's going to be boring. It can't be more boring than the Broncos game last night, in which I had the Broncos. So betting the Broncos, I deserve to win money after sitting through that game. Like, that's how I felt about it. This game be more
whether or not the bet was good, every viewer of the game deserved to have some sort of financial compensation for having watched said game.
Dude, that game itself was just dreadful to watch. I watched it with a Niners fan. And he was like, he couldn't believe I bet the Broncos. And I'm like, that's why I bet the Broncos. Everybody and their mother thinks the Niners are going to win this game because Jimmy G's back. Niners are on top of the world.
I
But
don't
that
know
was
why
perfect
people get
face.
excited about Jimmy G being back.
He's a winner. He's a winner. But I mean, he gets the team going. They're obviously bought into what he does. But this week coming
and
up,
then he
when they
walked
play
out
the
of the back of
Rams,
the end zone. He just did what he does.
Yeah,
Dan Orlovsky. Yeah, I love the Dan Orlovsky thing right away. Freedom as soon as that happened.
he
I
was so
like,
happy that happened. Like he got a chance to get his shine on right there. Like
finally clearing his name a little bit, getting someone else in the conversation. But certainly a great game. I think this game's going to be a good one. I mean, I think NFC East no longer the NFC least. We see the Giants possibly being 3-0. Cowboys, Cooper Rush, he's 2-0, hanging in there as a serviceable backup. Eagles, one of the only undefeated teams in the NFL. So we're not going to say anything positive about the Commanders just yet. But the Giants are looking good. Could possibly be the third 3-0 team. I like it to happen tonight. What are your guys' thoughts on this game in general?
I took the Giants, man. They got a formula right now of playing good defense, trying to limit their quarterback and possible mistakes that he may or may not make, and just letting that thing run through Saquon. You saw it in week 2. The Giants did not give up on running the ball. Saquon was not having a good day yards per carry wise, but he got those good runs near the end, and it helped seal the deal. Only 72 rushing yards on 21 attempts, but they stuck with it because they letting like, this guy's our offense. If Saquon breaks a long run in any game, that's got to give the Giants much higher chances to win that game. And he didn't do that in week 2, and they struggled a bit. So, we'll see how they do here. It's a low over-under. So you can expect some Saquon action, some Zeke action in this type of game here.
So, Kyle, what do you think about Saquon? Because he's taking money everywhere. Receptions, touchdown, anytime, first touchdown. Even the total yards is getting beat up a little bit. Everyone wants a piece of Saquon tonight. Are you in that train too?
Yeah, I mean, I like Saquon. I'm not sure I'd be betting on him in this game just because, like, we've seen just the public is so into Saquon right now. And I assume that means all of the value, at least on, like, any betting in favor of him has been taken out. I just like the Cowboys in this game. I mean, I think, like, shockingly, well, I don't know, maybe it shouldn't actually be that shocking. The difference between Cooper Rush and Daniel Jones actually doesn't seem like it's that much. I believe, actually, Daniel Jones, despite Cooper Rush coming in and playing horribly, is worse in EPA per dropback than we've seen from Cooper Rush, because Cooper Rush actually picked things up a little bit last week versus his like spot half of a game the week before. So he at least played like a serviceable back, like you said. And that's really all Daniel Jones's career arc is on at this point, is like, he kind of looks like he can be a backup, which is fine. But when he's facing a team that right now ranks 3rd in the NFL in pressure rate, and he has zero pocket awareness, he is one of the all-time, has never sensed pressure coming onto him in his life quarterbacks you've ever watched play football. And now he's playing a team that generates pressure nonstop. To me, I think I'd actually take the Cowboys in this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's everything. I look at a lot of the numbers of past games between these two teams, and a lot of it points to the Cowboys, but of course those games are backed by Dak Prescott. I look at the culture that Brian Dable is building here, and I'm really starting to buy into it. I know they haven't beaten anybody that's like, super impressive. They haven't beat the Chiefs. They haven't went out and even beat like the Vikings or somebody, but at the same time, they're playing close games. They're coming out on the right end of those games. And there's a number that's going around there about Daniel Jones being 0-5 on Monday Night Football. When you look at that, it's a totally different situation when you're playing Tom Brady twice, Patrick Mahomes, Ben Roethlisberger, Dak Prescott. You should be 0-5 in those games. There's no doubt about it. But when you get Cooper Rush, this is a much better opportunity here as a 1-point favorite opposed to a 6.5 or 12.5 point dog. And the Cowboys don't do well in pick'ems. We know that. Mike McCarthy, dog of 3 or less, 1-10. He just doesn't win close games. So any thoughts on this in general before we get some viewer questions, Lawrence?
You're muted. You've been canceled.
Yeah, you're muted. You look like you were thinking super hard there. That's how to go to.
I was just thinking I might go, like if we just talking about straight up quarterbacking, I might go Cooper Rush over Daniel Jones,
I
dog.
think
Like,
it's a
but we
certainly reasonable thing to say.
we gonna see tonight. We for sure gonna see tonight.
We will see tonight for sure. I mean, I don't love Daniel Jones. That's for sure. I don't love Daniel Jones, but I
His
love what they're able
team
to
don't
do.
love him.
No, man.
We
And I will
don't
say
got the
though,
5th-year op. He couldn't even get the 5th-year option.
yeah. I hope I mean, because I think Dable is like building a culture, and they're building the best offense they can around Daniel Jones because he just refuses to throw deep. It's like, let's give you as many layups as we can, shallower than 10 yards downfield. So they're doing what they can, and it shows up in having like a decent completion rate. But just as far as the long term like health of the offense goes, the way we see like the Cardinals just look like an offense in disarray, like this team kind of reminds me of that, but with a worse quarterback. So I hope they like. I think Dable has like a future in the NFL as a head coach. He looks good. So I hope that they have as much success as they're going to have this year. But unlike when Matt Nagy had success with Trubisky and tried to ride it out for another year or two, I hope that they move on from Jones at the end of the year because they have like talented receivers if they can like work things out with Kadarius Toney in the long run. Saquon Barkley is one of the best receiving backs in the league, and they've been spending tons of draft capital in smart ways recently. But like the quarterback situation just ain't it.
It should be a whole like they're 2-0, but we be talking about them differently at 2-0 if they had a different quarterback.
Yeah.
Like they've played good, like you said, they've played good defense. They got good skilled players. Man, you put another quarterback with them, man. Same thing like with the Falcons. You give them another little yeah, man.
Yeah, nah, they're definitely going to be moving on from anytime soon. And the Cowboys' defensive anytime touchdowns are definitely an interesting and I think fun way to attack this game for sure. I mean, the over-under set at 38.5 now. All the primetime under 7-2 this season. They barely squeaked over thanks to, a lateral in the end zone and then a fourth quarter touchdown have been the overs. So if you're looking at creative ways, I definitely think this is a good way, especially with the special teams because the Cowboys have an electric type special teams unit.
Yes, I was hoping this included. This was technically
Turpin.
I was hoping this included DST, not just defense anytime touchdown, because Turpin is legit. One of like I think he'll be one of the best returners in the NFL. He hasn't really spent almost any time in the NFL because he was in the USFL, but he was easily the best returner there. And then in the preseason, there was something like 500 total returns taken in the preseason, and he was the only person to score a touchdown on any of the returns, and he did it twice. I think he split them kickoff and punt return, but he was like so clearly just such an electric player. We saw it in the USFL. He was the same type of player in college. I don't think he's anything more than Isaiah McKenzie as a receiver at his peak, but like he legit, like I would bet on him if he is active for 17 games in a year. I would bet on him to have one special teams touchdown like every single year.
They need to let him get some run at receiver.
I hope they do, yeah.
Dealing with these injuries.
Not a bad idea right now. I think we're going to see a lot of creative plays in this game tonight, especially like Richie James for the Giants. He's been a little creative here. We've seen a couple of guys get rolled out in this game. We got a question here on Dalton Schultz because he is out. Michael Gallup isn't playing either for the Cowboys, excuse me. So the receiving options, Noah Brown looked pretty good with Cooper Rush. I will say that for sure. They had that backup receiver and quarterback vibe going before CeeDee Lamb had to kind of take over. But what are you guys' opinions on who to pick up since Schultz is out?
I think the answer is Jake Ferguson. He played most of the snaps after Schultz went down. Your other option would just be Daniel Bellinger, who looks like he's splitting reps with Tanner Hudson. But he did run, this is not an incredible accomplishment, but he ran around, I think, 44% of Daniel Jones dropbacks last week. And that was up from week one when he barely played. I think he caught a touchdown on his only. Yeah, he caught a touchdown. I think it was his only target, or at least his only catch last week. Yeah. So I think the answer is Jake Ferguson. But you're down bad. This is classic down bad behavior right now.
Yeah, I agree. We got a question here about the game. They want to go place a bet right now. Leading Cowboys +1, over 38.5. Thoughts? What do you guys think about the total? I'm on the Giants here. Kyle's definitely on the Cowboys. He said. Lawrence, I didn't know if you were decisive.
I'm going with the Giants. I took the Giants earlier today. I'm gonna rock with that. Over 30.5. That's interesting. That's very because we went into the Steelers and Browns game knowing that was gonna be under. We just knew it. Now the chances of some type of fluke play happening like that at the end in this game, those are slim to none, and we never know when they're coming. But I can't actually decide myself whether this game could go under. Everything looks like it could go under based on the quarterbacks. We got 2 backup caliber quarterbacks playing right here. That makes you scream like under run game 38 and a half. But man, you just you never know if you're setting up other prop bets a certain way and you like this player and that player to hit overs, then you probably would be leaning towards the over on 38 and a half.
Yeah, I'll add to that. In a couple of games now in the prime time, the first halves have been higher scoring than the second halves, and we've seen a significant drop off. So that's also one way of attacking this. The first half totals like 18 and a half, 19 and a half. You can get plus 100 money on that. That'd be a good setup to live bet this game. And I think I honestly wouldn't bet the Cowboys +1 because this line was +3 a couple of days ago. So you're losing value out on the Cowboys. And you could catch the Cowboys early in this game live and get a better number than +1. Throughout this entire game, you can get a better number on the Cowboys.
For sure.
So that's kind of my thought on if you're going to go place a bet on this one right now. But I do think I'm always going to lean an under on primetime. I'm always going to lean an under in divisional opponents playing on primetime that know each other.
True.
And a good stat just throw out there too, because like I said, the Cowboys don't do well against the spread as short as little dogs. But the under 7-0. And their last games with the spread 3 or less on the road. So backup quarterbacks, we said, could see some turnovers. Duly in the under. Kyle, your thoughts?
Danny Dimes threw he threw a would-be pick 6. Dude dropped it right in his hands. So, hey, you never know. It could be coming.
Yeah, that feels like one of the very obvious avenues for this game to hit the over would literally be DST touchdowns because both these quarterbacks are so mistake prone. So I would take the under because DST touchdowns are random. I'm saying like if you hit the over, like wouldn't surprise me if that's the fashion in which it hits. I would take the under, and I do like the Cowboys +1, but yeah, you've lost out on value from early in the week.
Yeah, for sure. And we are I talked about Noah Brown a little bit today. I was looking at his over 3.5 receptions. Didn't know how to get involved, but I'm just going to chill with the Giants tonight. But I do like Noah Brown's value. I see a lot of people hopping on Sterling Shepard. What are you guys' thoughts? Who's the better play tonight?
I would say Sterling Shepard. He's like the last man standing of the original Giants receivers. Everybody else got kicked out the lineup, and he's the longest tenured receiver. You got Kenny Galladay and Kadarius Toney over there wondering what the hell going on. You still got Sterling Shepard here. I can't remember off the top how many targets he had last game, but I'm pretty sure he led the team in targets last game, and he just keep on being that little engine that could for them, So I definitely like him. He had 10 targets last game, led the team with 10 targets. Danny Dimes threw it 30. I got to stop calling him Danny Dimes. Daniel Jones.
Danny Pennies.
Yeah,
that's what I called him last year.
Sterling Shepard only turned it in to 6 catches for 34 yards, but he's like I said, he's the receiver that's still standing from the old crew, and Daniel Jones trusts him. So I will go with Sterling Shepard.
Me too. I think Noah Brown has just well overperformed his volume. He's averaging like 11 or 12 yards per target. And even just for his average depth of target, that's a little rich. But then you factor in the fact that his depth of target comes on all of those throws, or at least, in the past 2 weeks or whatever, 1.5 weeks, have been from Cooper Rush. So I don't expect a guy who's trying to move the chains deep downfield, 10, 12 yards downfield, to be particularly efficient with Cooper Rush. Like, I don't expect anyone to be efficient with Cooper Rush, frankly. So for him to be overperforming with Cooper Rush, like that seems like it's coming like to fall back to earth instantly. Whereas like Sterling Shepard is doing exactly what we expect. He's kind of catching and falling down, but you're in PPR scoring. Perfect.
Yeah, and I think tonight could be a situation too. Like as much as the Cowboys are down a couple quality guys, they've been without Gallup, of course, but I could see Tony Pollard, Zeke being a little more involved in the passing game. And I mean, we saw that a little bit last week, especially with Tony Pollard. Yeah, and he's a guy that, he could be feast or famine. If you're betting on him, not as much fantasy, but definitely betting on him. I've been in that famine spot with Tony Pollard a couple times, but that was a great question, Jazz Flute here. And then we got Blake asking, Ferguson or Bellinger, higher ceiling in PPR? I'll leave this one to you guys.
I mean, I think it's Ferguson just because he's the one who has the chance to play like 80+% of the snaps. Like we saw last week, they rotated Bellinger with Hudson, maybe again, like that came up from week 1, right? They gave him a bit of a better role, but he also has guys who are competing with him on the short and intermediate targets to get open. Like it's him, Richie James, Sterling Shepard, who all are sort of in the same depth of the field. Whereas at least like Jake Ferguson, they just have no other bodies, and Noah Brown's running deep, CeeDee Lamb's mid plus deep. So I love the grimy question though, because grinding these showdown slates, like I'm looking at him, Peyton Hendershot, Cavante.
Yeah, you want to get the guy that's replacing the guy outright, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and Ferguson looks like he'd be the guy who could legit replace all of Dalton Schultz's snaps. Now, will he replace the production? No, because he's not as good, or he'd be starting. But it looks like he has a chance to run route on 70% plus of the dropbacks, whereas Bellinger is just a straight up committee tight end.
I thought you just create a player with a Peyton Hendershot, but that's a real guy.
Yeah, he's their number 2 tight end.
That's a 23-year-old tight end from Indiana.
I kind of like him in Showdown just because all the optimizers are giving you Ferguson because he's $200 on DraftKings and he's projected for like 5 or 6 points, and that's just that's the best, one of the best values you'll find on the season, right? So it's just going to make you play 100% of him, but like I think he's going to play the bulk of the snaps. But do I have any idea if this character, who you could have made up his name 12 hours ago and I would have believed you or not believed you, do I have any idea if he's going to play, half the snaps or more? I kind of think I do, but if Peyton Hendershot goes out and gets 5 targets, would it shock me? No, we have no clue what we're doing with these guys. So just play the one no one is playing. And I think that'll be Hendershot. But for your season-long kind of context question, that's Ferguson.
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Blake. That's a tough question. That's a question that we should be asking, though, specifically Kyle, because Kyle loves these tight ends. I will say that. And we get some shout-outs here. Bandit giving the shout-out to Lawrence. He did indeed crush it today, going hard on the Tony Pollard talk. Why don't you give a little preview of what you said today? Give the people what they want.
What's that?
What you said today about the running backs? Yeah, like what was your one thing from the show that you would say, like relay to people here today about this game?
Well, as far as the Cowboys running backs, we kind of touched on it a little earlier. In the reason why I wouldn't be as high on Noah Brown is because I believe that Tony Pollard did get 7 targets last game. Tony Pollard has an over-under of 2.5 catches. You could probably see him and Ezekiel Elliott go over that with the lack of receivers receivers and tight ends that they have. You would expect the Dallas Cowboys to lean on those 2 running backs there.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And right now it's Monday Night Football too. It's prime time. You're looking for anybody to step up when you can, especially with the quarterback situation there. We got to get to our guy Jerry, because I see Jerry. We see the trade in here. I'm trying to work it in, and we're just going to jump right in because it's the 3rd time you posted it, and we appreciate it. But this is definitely imminent. You must be in the same boat as me, 0-2, looking to shake things up. Yeah. We need to save our season.
Because that's what you got to do. You just got to change it up.
It's
time. So he's saying he would want to give up Stafford, Robinson, and Juju for Burrow, Kareem Hunt, and Brian Robinson. The tough part here is giving up James Robinson, because you just got great value in James Robinson, and to give up what you earned like that is just like, it's like you built all these bricks just to let somebody move in the house for free, and you don't even get the benefits. If Stafford is your number 1 quarterback in your team in a 1 quarterback league, that's tough too. Because it's not like he just going out there throwing for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns every game. But mind you, Joe Burrow did get going, but it was against the Jets. They'll
be going Thursday, too.
I would wait this out another week at least, because we don't know exactly when Brian Robinson going to come back. I want to see Joe Burrow in this offense against a formidable team in the Dolphins, because the first 2 weeks, the Bengals looked like they just wasn't in the Super Bowl. That's how they looked the first 2 weeks. So hold on tightly to that Mr. James Robinson that you got there, because you did well in drafting him. So try to hold out for a little longer. Now, I know you got Stafford going up against the Niners in week 4. That's going to be tough. But maybe you could find yourself a streaming option as well. But I would hold off just a little bit longer because it's not like you getting a running back one in Kareem Hunt. You have that in James Robinson.
Yeah, I totally agree. I would keep the Robinson side. To me, like, especially when you look at Brian Robinson, I think the upside of Robinson is that he comes in and gets a similar role to James Robinson in that he's playing on a lot of the early downs and maybe giving up some work on third downs. But even frankly, Robinson is good in the passing situations.
Yeah.
He's a good pass blocker. He's got clean hands. That's probably even out of the reach for Brian Robinson, frankly. So the way Juju played last week, James Robinson, the way he's played every single week, I would keep the side that you have, and it wasn't like that hard of a decision for me, frankly.
He got CMC and Barkley.
So
Even still, I would still keep it because it's not like you getting a receiver in the deal.
And that's how and personally, this is how I've only had successive championships in fantasy football, is having 3 stellar running backs. If you have CMC, Barkley, and James Robinson, I feel like you have a significant chance to.
It's a luxury.
Like the playoffs. Yeah. And I mean, Stafford's not the best quarterback to have, but a week like last week, you could go get Marcus Mariota. The week prior to that, you could pick up Carson Wentz. So, that's what I've been taking away from you guys for sure too, because I'm always hitting the waiver wire.
Man.
I mean, you can always I'm telling you too, defenses. If you don't get the best defense you're looking for, I just streamed defenses. I picked up the Panthers this week because I had confidence. 23 spot. Give me that. That can win you a league.
The touchdown out of that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, I definitely love streaming. But Saquon Barkley, 18 points tonight. Does he get that for you in fantasy to win?
Assuming it's anything other than standard, I think so.
Yeah. Hey, look, Advil, whatever. Luma, what's going on? I need the same thing you do, man, except I just need a little bit more. I need like 21 full PPR wise. So I'm hoping to get like 6-7 catches. That's that one signature long Saquon Barkley run, and hopefully it go for an actual touchdown and just put the icing on the cake. That's 60-yard touchdown run. That's 12 points off the rip right there, man. So I think if you in a full PPR, you should definitely be optimistic going into the night.
Yeah, I'm looking down at it. I need a 27 spot from CeeDee Lamb, and I absolutely know that's not happening. So
I need
like Saquon Barkley.
I need 14 from Zeke, and I know that's not happening. Like, the guy is just a lot for 12.
Zeke get a touchdown, if Zeke get a touchdown, you would play.
He needs 2, dude. He has no I never feel like watching him where when you watch Barkley, you're like, he's on his own 30, and you're like, he could get 7 points before even the touchdown this play. He could go yard. You watch Zeke, and you're like, he could get 4 yards.
Yeah. That kind of always been Zeke, though.
Man. You do need. I feel like I need double touchdown from him.
Zeke's brutal. I can't own him in fantasy. I definitely can't bet on him. He's so literally feast or famine. I want to ask you guys this because I messed up too, because I know we're all busy Sunday mornings, not even just us 3 in particular, but everyone else on here doing whatever it is before football Sunday. But how many leagues is too many leagues for you in fantasy? Because I cut mine down from 5 to 4 this year, and I made the mistake of not replacing the Patriots defense in one of my leagues for the Panthers, and that's why I need CeeDee Lamb to get 27 instead of getting 5 tonight. Those type of mistakes can be from owning too many teams or just being an idiot. But how many teams is too many teams, and like how many teams do you guys usually play each year?
We talking redraft or like best?
Yeah, ones you have to actually set your lineup, because anything else.
If we just look, I'll even take. We'll put
anything you have to set your lineup. Call it anything you have to set a lineup.
Yeah, so I actually forgot that I left Hunter Renfrow in one of my receiver slots this week too, and it's costing me right now. But it's like, especially for guys like us and what we do. I don't know, man. Like, I don't know, getting in the double digits, man. You getting up there. When you get into the double digits, it could get ugly, because especially if you got different players on all different teams and stuff,
different
like
platforms, man. I'd love to have them all aggregated onto one.
Oh, that would be great. There need to be an app where you could do that and just set the lineup like that. But yeah, it's the different apps, and I'm a dude, we do this for a living, and here I am leaving in Hunter Renfrow, and he ain't even playing. So I think once you get into them double digits, it get kind of crazy, man. But I be feeling like I drop some leagues some years, and then I add another one just to
Just cause.
yeah, man.
Someone ask you or something. Yeah, I think I have like a dozen leagues I actually have to manage, and it's too much for me. I don't think I've forgotten. That's not true. I forgot one. The very first week, I was like, it's the first week. There's no way George Kittle doesn't play, and I didn't check on Sunday morning. But other than that, I haven't forgotten waivers or setting lineups. But it's too much for me. I think I'd take 4 would be like the optimal number. But that's why I'm grinding like best ball drafts, right? Because you just don't have to focus on them at all, obviously. So like I'll do a few hundred best ball drafts during the summer. But man, more than like 4 redraft leagues. I'm forgetting about one so often at about week 6 is when I start forgetting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I need to get down to like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I'm in 4 leagues, but they're on 4 different platforms, so I have to like
that's the equivalent of 9 leagues on one platform.
Yeah, and it's tough because it's like one's NFL app, ESPN, Yahoo, Sleeper, so it's just so much. That's why we need to get the new and improved Roto World in the future. It needs to have an app where it just aggregates all your fantasy teams to Roto World. And
I will say we do have some tools that are similar to that. I don't think you can specifically set your lineups, but you can look at like available free agents and manage those types of things. So it's not quite to the level of just automating everything for you, which when we get that, oh baby, I'm cooking. But if you are a it's like Edge Plus sub, I think is what the sub is called. There is at least an app where you can look at like all of the available free agents in all of your leagues and the best pickups. So if you want to try and help manage that, I would certainly check that out. We're not quite at the level where I can just plug it in and let it run, but it is at least attempting to solve the problem that I find to be nails on a chalkboard.
You heard it here first. Then the Roto World app, also NBC Sports Predictor app, Roto World 22 to go beat Kyle and Lawrence in their leagues. But great questions here. Make sure we're going to get to the live chat now. Mike Flores, would you trade Devin Singletary for David Montgomery? Montgomery, I don't think any other Montgomery here, so you'd have to get Khalil Herbert because Montgomery's out, correct? He's not going to be playing for a little bit.
He day to day. They haven't even really said what specifically his injury is. They just said a lower leg injury.
It was knee and ankle is what they listed him with.
Herbert looked good.
And he's day to day.
But yeah, they called him day to day, and day to day is huge. I mean, like day to day on a Wednesday is totally like he's got a good chance of playing in week 1 or in the upcoming week. But like day to day, the night after or whatever, the night of the game could mean anything. It could mean they get him into more MRIs the next day, and we have no clue. So he's just kind of like a wait and see situation right now.
I'll just keep Singletary, man. Like better offense. You see what he did against Miami. Khalil Herbert going for 157 kind of makes things a little difficult right now, I would think. I don't see how I don't see. So let's say David Montgomery is good to go Sunday. How do you not give Khalil Herbert 10 touches in the game? Like every time he come in the game, he's productive, he's efficient. He just had a game yesterday that David Montgomery never had in his career. So
that's true.
I'll just roll with Singletary because at least you know what you're gonna get. You know he ain't no workhorse back, but you know he's the preferred running back. And after getting 11 targets yesterday, that Josh Allen is dependent upon him after Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, and the Montgomery injury looms large. Like, there's totally a chance we come out on Wednesday, he's DNP, and coach is like, yeah, we don't think we're getting him this week, maybe next week or whatever. Like, the situation is just so fluid, whereas there's none of that risk with Singletary. And it's not like you're getting some insane upside, right? When Montgomery comes back, oh, he's this top 5 running back, top 10 running back. He's fine, but the offense is terrible anyway. So it's not like he's going to be making all these frequent trips to the red zone. So to me, with the uncertainty around the Montgomery injury right now, I wouldn't be like trying to buy the dip or anything.
Yeah, I like this question here by LJ and etc. Should I trade Joe Mixon? I think you should not hit the panic button on Joe Mixon. Just because he didn't score against the Jets. I mean, that sucked, obviously. I felt like that was about a lock, but everybody else on the offense scored except Joe Mixon. But he does have a rough patch going up, though. I mean, his Dolphins game, I think he'll find the end zone. After that, though, Ravens, Saints, Then he has Falcons, Browns, and Panthers before it gets super nice for him.
It
So
just
I think you
depends
hold
who-
on to Joe.
It just, I mean, everybody's tradable. It
Yep, everyone's
depends
got a
on
price.
who. Yeah, it depends who we're
True.
talking here. If you just say, "Hey, should I trade this player?" I can't really say definitively yes or no unless
Look,
I
if
know.
you can get Cooper Kupp for him, I'll say yes.
Yeah,
for
right.
anyone.
Because I'd be
Yeah.
like, hell yeah, smash that trade for he changed his mind.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, somebody might be seeing Justin Jefferson and like, he ain't done nothing the past 2 games. And if he wants to take Joe Mixon off your hands and and you get Justin Jefferson, I'm like, yeah. So it just depends who it is. But like in general, I would say he getting a lot of volume.
Yeah,
But
I will say he got a little banged up last week. He had like a slight ankle thing, didn't play much in the fourth quarter. And I think Zach Taylor just said like, oh, his ankle was sore at the end of the game, right? And we saw a little bit of Samaje Perine. But I think they're the Thursday night game this week. So they do have a quick turnaround. We could actually see a bit of Perine because they like him. Every time they rest their starters, he also gets rested. Last year in week 18, when they rest the starters, they kept Perine out. They didn't play him in the preseason. Like, he's very clearly a meaningful backup to their team. So I would think they actually use a decent amount of him on Thursday. By the time, Mixon's ankle is back to healthy, it's probably just the full 3-down role once again. But there's at least a little bit of concern on the short week this week.
Yeah, that's one point too. And they definitely can use multiple running backs in the arsenal for the receiving roles too. So Mixon could see a little less usage this week. I do think he could score, but that's a good point too.
It's funny.
Yeah, Matt. It's definitely we're talking defensive special teams tutties though.
Hey, look, I tell you what. I tell you what, Matthew. Like I said earlier, Daniel Jones threw a football right into the defender's hand. He said, "R.I.P. Matthew." He threw him. Daniel Jones. That I wish there was a bet that says, will Daniel Jones have 2 turnover worthy plays? Even though I'm not a big woulda, shoulda, coulda, I think it's bound to happen because that's just what he does.
It is what
he's gonna throw into the defender's hands. The defender has to make the play. Now you also got Michael Parsons, who he should get 2 sacks easy. One of them could be a sack fumble. Now, again, we're talking about Daniel Jones, the fumble king. He's been better recently with that. I will say that. I won't completely empty the clip on him here, but he what is he known for? Turning the ball over. So now you got Michael Parsons, you got Daniel Jones. My man Matthew, you got a shot. Here. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but you got a shot right here, man. You really do.
Daniel Jones is sitting at minus 114 odds both ways to throw an interception, yes or no. So basically, it's like flip a coin if Daniel Jones is going to throw a pick tonight. And Cooper Rush, if you have the Giants defense, which I'm playing someone that does tonight, and all he needs is 7 points. So I'm pretty much chalking that up as an L. But Cooper Rush is minus 130 to the over to throw an interception, minus 102 to the under. So the books are basically saying good chance Rush does, and probably a good chance that Daniel Jones does too. So if you have defenses tonight, if you have a defense playing on prime time in general, you should probably be all right. So I won't say RIP Matthew like Avil did. Antoine said he got over 10 teams in the redraft because Antoine's about that money. He said, I got 2 jobs, and one of them is a fantasy football man. Our boy Matthew over here I got 6 leads, 3 of them including a dynasty. Dynasty is always a good option too. I love me some dynasty leagues. I got Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins, so I ate up in dynasty this week. Zeke or Pollard, full PPR. Preference one or the other for DFS tonight.
You go first. If we talking about DFS, I'm gonna just take.
How about DFS tonight and then long term then for fantasy?
Yeah, long. Well, how long are we talking? Dynasty? I don't know, man.
If we talking about this year, I'm taking Zeke. He ain't going nowhere. He not going this year. He not. Dynasty easily Tony Pollard, but I will say this: how they, the way the fantasy community does it. When a running back turned 25, 26 years old, he's 48. That's going to be Tony Pollard soon. He didn't have to wear and tear, but, You know, I don't know. I'm just saying he not that much younger than Ezekiel Elliott. People kind of forget that, but he does not have. Obviously, he don't have the touches that Zeke have either. But dynasty, I would go Tony Pollard. If he's talking about tonight, DFS Tony Pollard, because that's the better value there.
Yep.
Your regular season redraft, still might be Tony Pollard. That's tough.
Well,
I want to say Zeke, because if Zeke Zeke get that touchdown, then I don't know. But,
That's where
I
the
go
value is
Pollard.
on these running backs tonight. Who scores? Pretty much, they could have similar numbers.
Yeah,
Unless,
like last week, Tony Pollard had a long play and then he scored.
Yep. That's usually the difference. Tony Pollard's breakaway rate, his breakaway speed. Because Zeke, he's a bigger back, slower back. He's finesse around the line of scrimmage. He's not going to really do what Tony Pollard is capable of doing in the open field. So I do feel like that's the difference in those two. Right here, Dalton Schultz isn't playing tonight.
Dalton Schultz ain't getting no points, my boy.
He ain't getting no points.
No
Tony
points.
Pollard, I don't know about that either. So if that is on your team, you better hit that waiver wire in the next 25 minutes.
My man's depending on Tony Pollard to get that 28.
Yeah. Woo. So if you're still watching, which I'm assuming you are, who's the guy he picks up tonight? Who's the replacement for Schultz? Which tight end?
Ferguson.
Yeah. Kai talked about Ferguson, which I think makes the most sense, because if you go to the Giants tight ends, like Kyle said, it's more of a committee. You want the guy who's just replacing the guy, much like what Dalton Schultz did to Blake Jarwin. He stepped in, replaced that role, and look where he is now. We're not saying Ferguson's going to do that, but he'll be out there to have that chance.
Yeah, I like that look a lot. It's a backup tight end. I'm just taking shots in the dark. I messed up this weekend, guys. I passed on Tyler Conklin. I dropped him the day Sunday morning. And the guy I picked up, I can't even remember his name, but he had 2 points. That's how forgettable the guy was. But trade Kirk for London full PPR, enough room to bench him in several leagues. Drake London's balling. You can get him, right? You would take this.
I don't know if I take that for Christian Kirk.
I think I would take it specifically because, and I'm glad the person notes this, has room to bench him. If one of these players is going to be dropping 100-yard games back to back to back at the end of the season, it would be Drake London, who's playing well right now and could continue to grow, and Marcus Mariota, who is playing in, I'll call it a new offense. Technically, he did actually play in this offense back in Tennessee back in the day, but at least with a new team still acclimating to it. So to me, if one of these players could grow to something like truly elite or just far above what they're at right now in weeks 11, 12, 13, etc., it would be London. And I would say it's only because this is a spot where you say you have the have enough wide receiver room to keep him on the bench.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. So he's saying that basically these two receivers are luxury for him is basically what he's saying. And if that, I'm with that too. Then I'm with that. Drake London is consistent as hell.
Yeah, he scored the touchdown this past game. Mariota scored as well. I was pretty upset. I bet on Kyle Pitts, Lawrence, partially because you and Matthew Berry had the video together, and then we just knew this was the game that Kyle Pitts could have a game. So I was like, you know what? Everyone beat up his receiving prop like 15 yards. So I was like, I'll take the touchdown.
Yeah, well, the touchdown, we did speak that into existence as well. However, Marcus Mariota decided to sell the ball on him. Yeah. Man, we will be talking about a different game. Just put the ball right there in his 6 for 160. Yeah. Well, 6 for 140 and a touchdown.
Yeah, it was. He had a couple plays where he ended up in the red zone. There was 1 or 2 where he was inside the 5.
I wanted to see was them give him the ball.
I want to fade
actively. Yeah, I don't care who covering him, because you saw it didn't matter. Like, he made contested catches. Just throw the ball at Kyle Pitts, man, and he led the team with 8 targets. The next most was Drake London with 5.
Yeah, I'm loving what I'm seeing from the Falcons, honestly. ATS monsters this season. His opponent has Dalton Schultz. So you're in the clear. Pop a bottle of champagne tonight. That's a fantasy dub for you, because Tony Pollard definitely ain't getting 28 points. Is it time to panic on Russell Wilson? If so, should
Yeah.
I get? You should have definitely got rid of Russell Wilson if it's your fantasy quarterback already, in my opinion. But it's not his fault. Like, I wanted to really kind of snap on Twitter last night, to be honest,
Go off, King.
because
Go off.
everyone's like saying Russell Wilson's washed, and it's like, do you see this offensive line? Like, it's worse than the Steelers, and I'm a Steelers fan. I'm like, how is someone worse than them? But they're not helping him. Nathaniel Hackett, I mean, his play calling is definitely trash, but the receivers dropping so many passes. Like, come on.
They're just not going yet. They ain't got going yet. They're gonna be better days for him, but
there can't be worse days. My God.
Yeah. Russell Wilson is quarterback 24 right now in fantasy. You know who number 23 is? Vaughn Guess. It's your guy. Mitchell Trubisky.
No
it's
way.
not. Oh,
I was going to say Trey Lance, but that's even worse. Mitchell Trubisky.
Mitchell Trubisky's quarterback. So we got a problem, Houston.
Yes,
so
we do.
Listen, I ain't going to say cut him, but you don't start him. Like, I will play matchups everywhere I go.
This is debilitating for me. I was so excited to see Russell Wilson not playing with Pete Carroll. And turns out he's just playing with like Pete Carroll at 4,000 altitude or whatever they play at. That's brutal.
Yeah, Nathaniel Hackett, he's not going to make it, man. I think it's safe to say that he's not going to make it.
Doesn't look good.
Yeah, it does not look good there. I mean, I have hope for the Broncos to start turning around a little bit, but I will say this, probably my biggest bet of the week is going to be the 0-3 Raiders at home against the road Broncos coming off their first win or their second win, but first meaningful win. Raiders smack the Broncos repeatedly.
I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people went in on the Raiders, to be honest.
Bro, they have to win this game. I'm on their season win total under 8.5, so I'm loving the 0-3 start. But now I'm like, all right, like you guys,
I think
it's really time to do something.
I still think they could hit that too.
Chill out. We don't want to hear that, Lawrence. All right, on to the next topic. 20 PPR, Shepard or Noah Brown tonight. I'd probably say Shepard has a higher opportunity of getting closer to 20 than Noah Brown does. Am I correct?
Yeah.
I'd go the other way because they use Noah Brown on deep shots. He has like 11 or so, 12 8 and Sterling Shepard, like the way he gets 20 is he has to catch like 9 to 10 passes, right? He has to catch all of his targets he sees in the game. Whereas Noah Brown like just gets behind a mediocre defense and goes yard. I think the median probably favors Shepard, but you kind of like for 20 is a high amount of PPR points for two players playing in a game with a 39 total. I would take the guy who's going deeper more often.
The problem is that this Giants defense, I don't think this Giants defense is mediocre. This Giants defense is probably the reason they 2-0 right now. Actually, it is because it ain't.
You can't find reasons on the roster elsewhere.
Right. If you're looking at depth charts and rosters, you know why they not 2-0. But you asking this a tough ask for either one of these players in any game for a Sterling Shepard or a Noah Brown to go out there and get you 20 points. The good thing is it's PPR, so that's where I feel Shepard could be a factor. But like Kyle said, it had to come on either a busted coverage, like how he got his touchdown in week 1, or it had to come on a lot of catches, which he's capable of doing. But is he going to get 6 catches for 34 yards again? And I don't love that.
Yeah, I don't love that one either. I think it's anytime a total is 38.5, 39.5, I'm definitely not willing to expect too much off of some guys. But we do got some updated lines. The Giants just moved to 1.5. The over-under is now sitting at 38.5. Everywhere, some 38s popping up. It's looking like it possibly. So that definitely is worth noting. Let's get a couple more questions here because who's the most reliable receiver outside of Shepard for them?
James.
Is it Richie?
I'm Rick James.
It's got to be, right?
Word on here.
I mean, David Sills led the team in routes last week, and I think I agree with Richie James, especially because last week Richie James saw his route scaled back because Kadarius Toney actually got on the field more, and Kadarius Toney's gone again this week. So I think we get back to the full classic Richie James role. Everyone knows it, everyone loves it. It's what Richie James does, apparently.
He gonna go out there and get his little 5 catches for 60 yards. I think maybe
This
Galladay.
this is the hot take. The same person asking the question said, I think Kenny Galladay.
All right.
Absolutely not.
What was the question was
Who's the worst receiver on this team?
what Giants
Which Gi-
receiver is the
Who's the
most
first one to get
trustworthy?
cut by week 8?
Yeah, I mean, I can like maybe it's like Galladay because you can most confidently project him to score 0. It's going to be a
you
pretty
can trust
tight
that. You
distribution.
can
You can
trust that.
trust it exactly.
Now, when he came out and made his comments earlier this week, that's either gonna go one way for a receiver.
I don't think
You
it's going to go the good way.
out and get 13 targets or so, or you ain't gonna get jack. So it's either gonna go one way, and we'll find out about Coach Dable, depending on which way that goes for Galladay. So if he goes and does nothing like he been doing, they were just like, hey, bro, like, I don't care what you're talking about. We 2-0. We trying to get these wins. Or he might say, oh, you know what, Kenny, you're right, man. Let's go out here, throw you the ball 13 times and lose. So we'll see. We'll see. I'd be shocked, though, if Kenny Galladay was all of a sudden a full-time receiver again. Saquon is the reason Saquon is the reason they offense moves. But their defense has been extremely stout. They held Derrick Henry to under 4 yards a carry. They held Christian McCaffrey to 3.7 yards a carry until he busted a 49-yard run in the fourth quarter. So I would say their defense is the main reason. But yeah, Saquon is the offense. I'm going to agree with you there, Val's the GOAT.
And Saquon gets the highlight plays, of course. The 2-point conversion we saw, that's like the play of the Giants season right now. And, everything that happens offensively is mainly Saquon Barkley. But yeah, I agree. Defense looking great so far. Blake says, I like the under in the first half. I definitely wouldn't talk anyone out of it. Like I said, the last couple outside the Broncos game have seen a little higher scoring first halves before the unders in the second half have been the locks for sure. I love this question, though. Is Devontae Smith going to be ranked higher than Juju the rest of the season? What do you think about that, Kyle?
I think I'd still go Juju because I think it's because I love AJ Brown so much. This isn't a anti-Devonta take. It's to me that from what we saw in the first few weeks, AJ Brown still probably projects confidently as the team's wide receiver 1, whereas I think there's still some room for Juju to continue growing into an offense that's led by right now the quarterback who leads the NFL in EPA per dropback. So I think I would go with Juju over Devonta rest of season, but like Devonta's ceiling in any given week, as we just saw, far higher than Juju.
I mean, you saw the contested catches Devontae Smith making. He's more of a over the top guy too. And the thing about this is the Eagles can support 2 wide receivers now. Like this is a passing offense with a quarterback who could just run the ball if he wanted to. Like I was about to say, Jameis Winston is definitely not Jameis Winston. Jalen Hurts, he on point right now. If Lamar Jackson is the MVP front runner, Jalen Hurts is right behind him right now. 2 straight 300-yard games. And I mean, Devontae Smith has out-targeted A.J. Brown the past 2 games. I will agree. I don't, that ain't going to happen every single week. But, man, Devontae Smith, he a baller, man. And I don't know. I wish I had him on more teams. I have Juju, and I'm just like, come on, dog. Help a brother out.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't wish I had Devontae Smith on any of my fantasy teams, but like I do like him as a player.
He's a fun player. Like I wish I had him on my team to be rooting for him to play and make these plays. That's why I took that over on him last week. We hit that easy.
Easy money. Definitely like the questions here. We got about 5 or 6 minutes left. So guys, load up your final questions. We'll run through real quick our stardom, sit-ems, and our bets for tonight. So Kyle, I'll let you lead them off wherever you want to go with it. Floor is yours.
Yeah, I'll throw out my first bet, my first fade for Bets Go, and that is Noah Brown unders. Probably have the number pulled up right here. I think it's like something
41.5 was 40, the last 40 number we put in there.
41.5 was earlier today. I can't imagine that's moved too much. It can't be the most.
That's 44.5 now.
Interesting. Well, you can get a little bit of a better number on there. To me,
fix that right up.
Given how hot he's run on his yards per target on an offense that we really can't project to be a particularly successful passing offense against against a defense that, I called them mediocre last week, but they're at least a quality enough defense to be middle of the range in terms of EPA per pass attempt allowed. And they're facing an offense that we don't expect to give really any sort of fight back against them. I think the way he gets there is by getting 2 or 3 long catches, and that's going to skew his tail to be like, his ceiling, of course, is probably 100 yards plus, but he has so many games where somehow Cooper Rush doesn't complete deep passes to him and he gets 25 or whatever. So to me, I kind of like Noah Brown getting under this number just as far as his median projection goes.
Yeah, I could see that. I definitely like his over receptions a lot more than I'd be playing his over receiving yards. So I'm with you on that one here. As I said earlier, my pick is the Giants money line tonight. I'm feeling good about the boys in blue. 4 straight wins at home. Dable got a new culture. Cowboys backup quarterback, all the trends I said earlier. But definitely think it's going to be a low-scoring defensive battle here. And the Giants squeeze out another tight victory. 4 points so far in 2 wins. I see another close one. Lawrence, what about you? What's one of your bets?
Well, if the Giants is going to get that money line there, Saquon Barkley is going to be a big part of that. So I'm going over 77.5 rushing yards. That moved up 1 yard from earlier today at 76.5. The Cowboys run defense let Leonard Fournette run all over them in week 1 for 127 yards. Week 2, they did stop Joe Mixon, but now we see that everybody has stopped Joe Mixon. We see that we see that the Giants will stay with the run. We talked about that earlier. Saquon did not get going, and he earned a tough 72 yards on 21 carries. So 72, not far off the 77 here. They'll stick with the run. They're committed to it. They committed to Saquon just as their leader of the offense and of that team, really. So I'm going to ride with Saquon over 77.5 rushing yards.
And I'll say to everyone watching, this is probably the best angle of attack on Saquon Barkley today, because as we showed earlier in the show, we had the graphics go in the bottom. Everybody is on Saquon's over receiving yards and him to score a touchdown, the first touchdown, anytime touchdown, but not as much money being bet on the rushing yards. So
which is
I feel like
odd.
It is odd, but it's also not the most appealing look for most people, in my opinion.
Right.
They think Saquon.
The 22 looks much easier because they're like, hey, this dude gets 2 catches. He got 40 yards. So I get it.
Yes. And I will say that this bet that Kyle has is so ugly, in my opinion. But it probably will hit. There's a couple cappers I talk to every week, and one guy calls me, and he always brings up tight end bets of like 10.5, 15.5 yards. I'm like, who are these guys? And this is one of them. Kyle, take it away.
Yeah, Daniel Bellinger, 7.5. We really just need like one decent reception to get this. And we saw in week 1, he did next to nothing. We saw last week he scored the touchdown. I think he would have gotten over this prop. I don't know. But the thing is, to me, that signals his role should be growing is he played very little in week 1 and his role go to 44% of the team's dropbacks that he ran a route on last week. And the other option is Tanner Hudson, who's like a career journeyman backup type of player, whereas Bellinger is a rookie. So we'd expect him to continue to grow as he gets in the swing of things. I think he even missed the final few days of training camp because of concussion too. So I would imagine that he's a player, as he gets more reps under his belt, they're more comfortable giving him more reps real live in game. And we did see that last week. So to me, this one is just so low for a player who really needs one. Maybe they need a second catch to get there, but I don't mind 7.5 for Bellinger.
Yeah, he's going to be the guy to get a 1-yard reception, 3-yard touchdown. That's it.
Yeah, totally.
Or he's getting 14 or 15. So you better hedge there with a little tutty in your pocket. Val said, will Zeke go off today? Probably not. Will Saquon go off today? Possibly. We like that more.
Sir.
Will breaking news, Mac Jones out multiple games per Adam Scheffner. We got a great follow-up question here. Final 2-minute drill. Ramondre Stevenson. Boast or hurt his stock? It's a great question.
I think bad. I think from almost all situations, you would prefer the offense to be good versus being bad.
Yeah, I mean, well, it does say this. So they're going to lean on him more, and Damian Harris. So that's pretty much that's the positive spin you could put on it. And Ramondre Stevenson looked good. Just, rely on the touches. I mean, Brian Hoyer,
What are you going to do with that? But yeah, his actual first name is Axel. Came across that on Twitter today. And the joke running today is if Brian Hoyer's whole career could have been different if he went by Axel Hoyer. And I actually agree with that.
Well,
I
then he would
think
have been like a linebacker or something.
yes, that's probably why he's like Brian sounds way more like a quarterback. Great question here though. 25 points. Zeke, Pollard, Sterling Shepard.
I think it's Zeke because the only one of these guys who can score 3 touchdowns is Zeke. Honestly, Zeke could score 3 touchdowns and still not get 25. He could run for 23 yards, but most likely,
Dang,
he
he just gonna do him like that.
I think the only the best ceiling for these players is multiple touchdowns, and Zeke's the only one who really could do that.
Yeah, no, I love it all. So hopefully you guys got great stuff here. I do want to give Val's the GOAT. Are you guys actually NBC? Y'all just fan of the news? Trick question, both. We love it when you guys drop everything in here. So thank you guys for dropping the Mac Jones news. Thank you guys for getting all the questions. Shout out to Santi. Shout out to Advil. Shout out to Koa. Shout out to Oaktown's finest. Shout out to Blake. Shout out to all you guys that make the show what it is. So it's Cowboys versus Giants tonight. Make sure you guys get the DFS lineups in, get your bets in. Kyle tweets here. Lord, don't lose. Lawrence Jackson, Kyle Dvorchak. I'm Vaughn Dalzell. Best of luck, guys. We'll see you Thursday. Bengals, Dolphins. Go get that Bengals 3 right now. They're going to lay it to the Fins. You heard it first.
Oh.